The howl echoed through the freezing night, not a cry for help, but the desperate whimper of a soul already condemned. In the shabby shelter, surrounded by cold gray concrete walls and the overpowering scent of disinfectant, a heated argument was unfolding. "That dog is a danger," a staff member shouted, pointing toward the last cage down the hallway, where the glowing eyes of a massive German shepherd burned through the shadows. "He's bitten people. No one's going to adopt him. Just get it over with." But a weaker voice protested, hesitant yet firm. "He's just scared, never had a real chance." The debate went nowhere, only thickening the tension as the flickering fluorescent lights cast a harsh glow on the execution notice. "Tomorrow." Inside the cold metal cage, Max, his name once spoken with pride, lay motionless, eyes clouded over, drained of all hope. His once glossy black coat was now patchy and scarred, a silent testament to a past no one cared to know. He was enormous, intimidating, with sharp teeth bared whenever anyone approached, but it was only a shell. Inside, Max was a shattered soul, trembling at the slightest noise, shrinking back from every reaching hand. Weeks had passed, and those who came looking for pets glanced at him with fear before drifting toward cheerful puppies and small, friendly dogs. Max was not the kind of dog people wanted, too big, too scary, too broken. So he learned a cruel truth: barking changed nothing. No one came. No one cared. That night, as the shelter sank into silence, broken only by the whimpers of other dogs, Max curled up in the corner of his cage, body shivering against the bone-chilling cold. Ears pinned back, he no longer lifted his head to gaze at the moonlight filtering through the barred window. Tomorrow it would end. Linda, the shelter manager, had signed the papers. No space, no funds, and Max was beyond saving. The warrior who once stood tall was now a shadow, his eyes dimmed by months of waiting in vain. He didn't growl, didn't fight back. Only a faint whimper escaped, a sound so small it was nearly swallowed by the darkness. Not a plea but a farewell. But then, in the deathly quiet, the unexpected happened. That frail sound, weak as a dying breath, reached the ears of a stranger miles away. Through the blurry screen of her phone, Max's eyes, captured in the shelter's last-ditch post on social media, pierced through to Sarah, a woman adrift in her own life. The caption was short, but it struck deep. "Max, 5 years old. If not adopted by tomorrow morning, he'll be gone forever." Sarah's breath caught, fingers trembling as she hovered over the screen. She didn't know why, but those eyes, the eyes of a soul that had given up, called to her. And in a reckless moment she picked up her phone, dialing the shelter's number, her voice breaking as she left a message in the dead of night. "Don't do anything. I'll be there in the morning." Max didn't know. He still lay there, breaths slow, counting down to the end. But somewhere in the darkness, a flicker of hope had sparked, small, fragile, but enough to change everything. The alarm clock blared in Sarah's tiny apartment at 5 a.m., ripping through the stillness of the night. She jolted upright, heart pounding, sweat beading on her forehead despite the lingering cold. She'd barely slept. Max's clouded eyes had haunted her every second, a silent cry for help. Sarah hurriedly threw on her coat, trembling fingers clutching her car keys. "I'm insane," she muttered, staring at herself in the mirror, a 28-year-old veterinary technician living alone, who had never owned a large dog, let alone one labeled dangerous. But something in Max's eyes, a pain she couldn't turn away from, had dragged her out of her comfort zone. On the drive to the shelter, the sky was still pitch black, headlights carving through the dense fog. Sarah pressed the gas pedal, speeding down deserted roads, her mind racing with a torrent of doubts. What if he bites me? What if I can't handle him? But every time she considered turning back, Max's picture flashed in her mind. The dog curled up in his cage, a prisoner awaiting execution. She gritted her teeth, gripping the wheel tighter. "No, I have to do this." When Sarah arrived at the shelter, the sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky a haunting shade of pale orange. She pushed open the door, breath quickening as she faced Linda, the shelter manager, who stood behind the counter with a cold expression. "I'm Sarah," she announced, voice trembling but resolute. "I'm here for Max." Linda frowned, clutching a thick stack of paperwork, eyes scrutinizing her as if seeing right through her. "You're too late," she said flatly. "He's scheduled this morning. 8 a.m. he's gone." Sarah felt blood rush to her head as she slammed her hand on the counter. "No. I called last night. I said I'd be here." Linda leaned back, startled by the outburst from the petite woman in front of her. After a tense pause, she sighed, setting the paperwork down. "Fine. But I'm warning you, Max isn't easy. He has issues." "Are you sure?" Sarah nodded, though her mind screamed with doubt. Linda led her down a long hallway, the cacophony of barking dogs echoing like a chaotic symphony of life and death. The stench of mildew and urine hit her nose, but she didn't care. Her eyes were locked on the last cage. And then she saw him. Max, a massive figure curled in the corner, his scarred black coat a patchwork of pain. His eyes were dull, void of hope. He didn't even lift his head as they approached, as if he'd already accepted his fate. Linda unlocked the cage, her voice cautious. "Careful. He's growled at everyone." Sarah knelt just a few steps away, her heart pounding like it might burst. "Hey Max," she whispered, her voice soft like coaxing a frightened child. "I'm Sarah. I'm here to take you home." Max tensed, ears twitching but stayed motionless. Linda stood behind, gripping the leash tightly, ready to intervene. Sarah slowly extended her hand, palm up, refusing to get closer. "It's okay. You're safe now." A minute passed. Then two. The silence was heavy enough to hear her own heartbeat. And then, unexpectedly, Max raised his head. His eyes met hers, not with aggression but with a deep, fearful uncertainty, as if bracing for a blow instead of a gentle touch. Linda exhaled, surprised. "I've never seen him react this way." Sarah offered a shaky smile, tears pricking her eyes. She kept her hand steady, letting Max make the choice. After what felt like an eternity, he inched forward, nose brushing her hand. Cold, trembling, but it was the first time Max had touched anyone without recoiling. "Good boy," Sarah choked out, feeling as if she'd crossed an invisible line. Linda handed her the leash, skepticism fading slightly. "You've got guts. But this is just the beginning." As Sarah led Max out of the shelter, the early sunlight caught his scarred fur, highlighting the cruelty of his past. Max walked slowly, legs trembling as if disbelieving his own freedom. In the car, he curled into a ball on the back seat, eyes locked on Sarah through the rearview mirror. She chuckled, though her chest was tight. "You don't know it, Max, but you just saved me from myself." But when they reached Sarah's small apartment, reality hit like a punch. Max wouldn't go inside. He stood at the door, ears pinned back, eyes darting like he expected a trap. Sarah knelt, gently tugging the leash, her voice wavering. "This is your home, Max. No one will hurt you here." Inside, Max prowled cautiously, sniffing every corner with the wary suspicion of a survivor. He nosed the dog bed she'd prepared, then retreated, curling up near the door, eyes fixed on her. Sarah sat on the floor, a book in hand but unread. She just wanted him to get used to her presence. That night, as Sarah cooked, the aroma of bacon wafted through the apartment. Max's nose twitched, but he didn't budge. She placed a piece near him, whispering, "Take your time. I'm in no rush." Max eyed her, then the bacon, but didn't eat. He only lay there as if he couldn't believe in kindness. The next few days were a quiet battle. Max didn't bark, didn't wag his tail, just watched her with a mix of curiosity and doubt. Sarah was patient, spending hours on the floor, letting him choose the distance. One evening, as she watched TV, she felt a gentle pressure against her leg. Heart pounding, she glanced down. Max had approached, nose pressing her knee. She froze, afraid to shatter the fragile moment. "You did it?" she whispered, trembling fingers brushing his head. Max didn't pull away. For the first time, he let her touch him. A flicker of light glimmered in his eyes, small but bright, like a fire just kindled. But just as Sarah thought they'd taken a step forward, a noise shattered the moment. The rumble of an engine outside, headlights glimmering in the darkness. Max shot up, ears pricked, a low growl rumbling from his throat. Sarah peered out the window. A strange car parked a few yards away, lights off, engine idling. Her blood ran cold. "What's going on, Max?" she whispered, clutching her phone. Max looked back at her, eyes sharp and wary, like he understood something she didn't. The shadows of Max's past were lurking, and the battle for his trust had only just begun. The rain poured down in torrents, roaring against the roof of Sarah's small house, drowning out every other sound, except for Max's low, menacing growl. That night, as the clock struck midnight, Sarah sat huddled on the sofa, clutching her phone tightly, eyes fixed on the window. The strange car had returned, its third appearance that week, parked motionless under the faint glow of the street lamp, like a ghost refusing to leave. Max stood guard by the door, hackles raised, eyes blazing in the darkness. His growl was no longer a warning, it was a challenge, a promise to protect her from whatever nightmare lingered outside. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "You know them, don't you?" she whispered, trembling as she stroked Max's fur. But he didn't turn. He only growled louder, as if shielding her from a shadowed threat he had faced before. Sarah couldn't take it any longer. She stood up and crept to the window, pulling the curtain back just enough to catch a glimpse. The car, sleek in black, windows fogged over, showed no signs of life. But then, in a moment of bone-chilling horror, she saw a shadow shift, a head tilting as if watching her house. Her heartbeat thundered, breath caught in her throat. "What do they want with you, Max?" she muttered, glancing back at the dog. Max answered with a sharp bark, loud and fierce, echoing off the walls and startling her. It was the first time she had heard him bark since bringing him home, a sound both powerful and desperate, like a warrior's call to arms. Without hesitation, Sarah called the police. "There's a car outside my house," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "It's been there for hours. I think someone's watching us." The dispatcher assured her a patrol would arrive soon, but every second felt like an eternity. Max stood his ground, body taut and ready to spring. Then, as the red and blue lights of the patrol car flashed at the end of the street, the black car suddenly roared to life, tires screeching as it sped away into the storm before anyone could react. Sarah exhaled shakily, but the fear remained, a phantom clinging to her skin. The next morning she called Linda at the shelter, urgency clear in her voice. "What aren't you telling me about Max? Someone's been watching us." Linda was silent for a moment before sighing heavily. "We don't know for sure, Sarah. When Max was found, he was a stray, scarred, emaciated. But there are rumors that he was used in a dogfighting ring. But no one could prove it." Sarah felt ice flood her veins. Dogfighting? The scars on Max's body, the fear in his eyes, it all made sense now. "If that's true," she said, voice shaking, "then someone from his past might be looking for him." Linda's voice was grim. "Be careful, Sarah. These people don't mess around." Fear hardened into resolve. Sarah couldn't let Max fall back into the hands of those who had turned him into a weapon. But that night, darkness returned, this time not just a car. When the rain stopped and silence settled heavy, a sound echoed from the porch, heavy footsteps, slow and deliberate. Max sprang to his feet, barking furiously, charging toward the door. Sarah grabbed a baseball bat from the corner, heart pounding so hard she could hardly breathe. Through the crack of the door, she saw a shadowy figure, tall, hooded, hand twisting the doorknob. "Who's there?" she shouted, voice wavering. Silence, then the clink of metal as the stranger tried to force the lock. Max didn't wait. He lunged at the door, teeth bared, a snarl rumbling from deep in his chest. Sarah screamed, "The police are coming. Get out." The footsteps hesitated, then retreated, accompanied by a muttered curse. By the time the police arrived, the intruder was long gone, leaving behind a muddy boot print on the porch and a trembling Sarah clutching Max. "You saved me," she whispered, tears streaming as she stroked his fur. Max licked her hand, the first sign of affection, as if to say he would protect her, just as she had protected him. But Sarah knew they couldn't stay. The next morning she packed their belongings, loaded Max into the car, and drove straight to a friend's farm in the countryside, far from the city, far from the shadows of Max's past. On the drive, she glanced at Max through the rearview mirror. He sat upright, eyes bright and alert, nose twitching as fresh air streamed in through the open window. When they arrived, rolling green fields stretched before them, and Max leaped out of the car with a newfound energy. He ran a few steps then looked back, tail wagging, a real wag, the first she had seen. Sarah knelt down and hugged him tight, tears dampening his scarred fur. "Your family now, Max," she said, voice thick with emotion. "No one can take you from me." But just as she let herself believe it was over, a sound made her freeze, the distant rumble of an engine. She looked up to see a black car creeping over the hill, stopping just far enough away to watch. Max growled, but this time, Sarah did not flinch. She stood tall, gripping Max's leash, eyes blazing. "If they want you, they'll have to get through me first," she declared, voice like steel. The car lingered a moment before slowly reversing, retreating over the horizon. Sarah exhaled, her hand resting on Max's head. "We won, boy," she whispered, smiling through tears. Under the radiant sunlight, Max lifted his head, breathing in the scent of freedom. And then he howled, not the mournful wail of despair, but a triumphant song of a soul finally unbound. Sarah knew their journey wasn't truly over, but they had each other, and that was all that mattered. From a condemned prisoner in a metal cage to a warrior of hope, Max had proven that even the deepest scars could heal when someone was willing to fight for you.